Hello and welcome to the round 7 edition of the SuperCoach Edge podcast. My name's Damon and joining me is, as always, Liam.
Thanks, Damon. That was a wild round of SuperCoach, is all I can say. I feel like we
It
went
was.
from like the depths of despair when I reckon approximately half of my team was on the out list due to injury. And then we got some to the heights when I saw my score on Saturday afternoon and I was like, shit, it's going pretty well.
How worrying was it on Thursday seeing the teams drop? And I don't know about you, but when I scroll through the AFL app and I'd just get the footnotes virtually.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, in, out, in, out, in, out. I'm just counting them. I'm like, okay, Cherry's out. I know that. Have a look through again. Oh, Hewitt's in. Okay, yep, no worries, all good. But then that nagging feeling in the back of your head, is he really in? Is he really in, Carlton?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but Carroll was emergency, and I know he'd been performing well in the VFL. And I'm like, I can see what's going to happen. They're going to pull a shifty here, Carlton. But thankfully, they did to an extent, but it wasn't as bad.
Not too late. Yeah. It wasn't like it
late.
was 10 minutes before the game starts or something.
Yeah, but just rolling through and then logging into SuperCoach and seeing the amount of the red and white crosses or whatever for injuries, it's just like, oh God. And then when it's set in, knowing that you had to rely on, the caliber of rookies like a Hobbs or a McDonald, to Conning, it was very, very interesting.
And it was also interesting because I used 3 trades and still had injured players in my side. And I only traded out injured players. So
yeah, it's true. That's true. And did you carried McCartan and Hewitt as well? Like myself,
carried McCartan
on the bench.
Yeah, carried Hewitt. Was always going to carry Hewitt. McCartan was only in the end because I had bloody Cherry.
Yes.
But yeah, interesting times.
Yep. But like the quote says, Liam, I don't know if you've heard of this one, but it's in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity.
Ooh,
and
like that.
We came out the other side better than what we thought we would going into it. So not too bad in the end. I mean, who could have predicted scores of 2,500 plus?
Yeah.
Insane. Really, really good. But just to leave you with another quote, Liam, it's one that I've carried with me throughout my life. And it's one that my mama told me. Because Mama always said SuperCoach was like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're going to get.
That's virtually what SuperCoach is like. So when you think you're going to have a shit one, you actually have a good one. And when you think you're going to have a good one, you have a shit one. So
yeah,
just keeps us on our toes. It's good, isn't it?
It is. It's great. It's a cruel mistress at times, but
it is.
That's its upsides.
Let's move on to the first regular segment, Liam. And it is the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a bit of a change, Liam.
Yeah, I know.
You love it now. I thought you hated it.
I did hate it, to be honest.
Yes, I'm kicking it off. And it is, yes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, where we run through a quick recap of how our respective teams performed and the players that stood out for both good and bad reasons. And I just thought I'd kick it off this week, Liam. Just for a bit of a change up. And I figured that you'd done it, for a few weeks in a row. That you deserve to sit back, relax.
Oh, thank you.
Just for once, and maybe I think it's got something to do with the fact that you beat me. You beat me this week. Yes, the score compared to last week. I mean, let's just have a quick recap last week. So we were pretty down, weren't we? I mean, you were. I was down, but you were further down, Liam. You were in the dumps.
I was down.
Prices are down. SuperCoach prospects are down.
Yeah, they were.
As we know, a week is a long time in SuperCoach, and fortunes have turned around. And even though I lost, I'm still quite happy with the score because I scored 2,481. And, you'd think, oh, okay, yeah, not too bad. I got beaten by you. Maybe I went down in ranking. No, I actually went up. So now I'm ranked 8,588th and rose 1,383 spots. So I'm starting to climb the ladder again. It's just insane. But hopefully I can get it in a couple of weeks in a row. So we'll see. See how we go there. But in terms of trades, like we mentioned from the top there, we had an absolute slew of injuries. And Cherry was the first for me, obviously getting injured and being ruled out for up to 4 weeks. Opted to trade him out to the man in demand, the red, sweaty pig himself in Oliver. But how, you ask? Cherry, a forward ruck to Oliver in midfield. Well, I switched STK, so a lot of sneaky, the switches around the team. So I switched SDK into the forwards as cover for Cherry and brought Dacos into defence as cover for McCartan. So the DPP came in handy for upgrading to the primo in demand in Oliver, as well as plugging holes left by injury. So not too bad there. I then traded Hayes to Hayes, so yeah, original, and Grundy to Bruce. So 2 cash cows in and a whole heap of cash used partly for Oliver, and then some saved for future upgrades over the coming weeks. And I'm looking forward to this week, Liam, because I think we both have someone in our sights that we're looking to bring in. So a bit of a clue is all of us, Liam, all of us. If anyone knows what that means. A certain supporter group will, but they'll have to find out who we bring in. In terms of the good, Gorney, I think probably hands down, 172 points. You love to see it, Liam. Love to see it. Unless, of course, you were one of the coaches. Sorry to bring it back again to this, but unless, of course, you were one of the coaches who made the mistake of trading him out in the early rounds.
It's going to be mighty hard to get back in. He's priced at 677 now. He's going to be... his break-even's 98. His projected score is 140. If he scores that, he ends up at just under about, 690.
Yeah. Jeez, I didn't even realize he went back up, overall, up 20.2K. And it's crazy to think he actually went down 41.1K after round 3. But ever since then, he's been the only way he's up.
He's 20K more expensive than he started the season.
Oh, well, we don't have to worry about that, thankfully. But,
No.
yeah, he was definitely in the good category there. And like we mentioned, Liam, he beat up on Maxwell Lynch for the Hawks and returned that juicy score. In terms of the bad, Mcrae, just the 89. And, it's just not good enough for a bloke of his caliber. But I should mention, and this is amazing. I had to look back through the archives in terms of his scoring. It's his lowest score since round 18, 2020, when he scored 85. So I think we can probably cut him some slack because of that. But for this week alone, you're in the bad, Mcrae. Not good enough, mate. Return to form. In terms of the ugly, Richelly finds himself here off the back of just 46. And it's probably a bit harsh being a rookie, but it was more so probably by proxy due to the fact that I, like many other coaches, were forced to play him due to injuries, where he would probably otherwise have found himself traded out having had a high break-even. And as a result of having to keep him, he lost 17.3K, which puts him just under the 100K profit mark, which just as a numbers man, I hate. And it's a bit of OCD kicking in there because I like the even, 100K mark. But unfortunately, he has dropped a bit, but he's back on the chopping block this week for me. But how'd you go, Liam?
Yes, as you mentioned, I did get the win by, I think it was 6 points, scoring 2,487, which was nice. My overall rank, I did have a decent climb, 5,587 spots to now sit 21,005th. So nice little climb. If I keep doing that every round, top 1,000's 4 weeks away.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, 4 weeks.
But that's gonna be a tough ask. But I think we can build from here. Which will be nice. In terms of trades, similar to you, it was all trades. I used my first trade boost of the season, which was nice. That was a bit of a rush. Had to use it because of bloody all of the injuries that I had. So I ended up trading out Cherry like you, Grundy like you, and Jack Hayes like you, all ruckmen with injuries. And I brought in, I think it was the exact same, Bruce, Oliver, and Sam Hayes. So very similar there. Couldn't pass up on Oliver's juicy price point and lowish break even. In the terms of the good, of course, I would have Maxi gone there as my captain, but just to mix it up a little bit, we've got Tuk Miller. He turned around his form and managed a pretty impressive 160 against the Pies, especially after starting a bit slow and then sort of coming coming back with that big 160, which was nice. Hopefully he can continue that on in the next few weeks. In terms of the bad, I'm like you. I mean, it was kind of hard this week to look at the bad and the ugly. I think we've got, for both of them, we got the same actually. So Jack Mcrae. And I think, you know what? I think Krusty the Clown said it best.
What the hell was that?
He had everything going for him. He was playing the Dons. They bleed points against opposition mids. They don't tag. Seriously. And I looked at his stats. He still attended a fair chunk of CBAs. I think he was like the second or third highest CBAs for the Dogs. So he just doesn't get that out. But anyway, it's all right. It's all right. As you said, I'll cut him some slack.
Yep.
If that being his lowest score in about 3 years. So that's okay. And in terms of the ugly, I feel a bit bad. But unfortunately, it does have to go to Josh Richelly, purely because he was the lowest scorer on my field. After such a hot start, fortunately, he has started to fizzle. And as you said, unfortunately, he's starting to lose that cash. And it's hardest, I think, as you mentioned, because he would have been traded out had I not had 3 other injuries. Well, actually, I had about 5 injuries to cover. But I had to use 3 in trades for injuries. And had I not had to do that, I would have had him on the blocks and we would have parted on nicer terms. But anyway, and I've got a couple of honorable mentions. I want to give a huge shout out to 2 guys, SDK and C. McDonald, who both managed to score their best or equal best scores for the season. What a week to step up when I needed to field them both. Absolute legends. Absolute legends. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Family pension on the pine, hopefully, this week.
Yeah. They've earned themselves a rest, a well-earned rest.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, definitely. That's good. But anyway, let's have a quick look-see, Damon, at our head-to-head. And it was a very close one again, with the margin only 6 points.
Yes. I'll do the honours this time,
Thank
Liam.
you.
Kick your feet up. You've earned it. Sit back in your pina colada. So I'm on a 5, 2 losses, and the point differential is 202 in my favour. And then you're on 2 wins, 5 losses, and yes, that 202 point differential, which you can make up slowly but surely. 6 points at a time, Liam.
6 points at a time. How long will that take me? Quite a while.
I don't know, but all you need are wins. I'm quite happy that you've pegged one back, I must say, Liam. That's it's starting to get a little bit boring. Imagine if I was 6-1, like.
I have to say, I was watching the scores because I knew in the Bulldogs Essendon game, all your unique players had already played. And so it was just my couple of unique players. And I was slowly watching the scores and I was like, oh no, if I don't get up here. And then I was waiting for scaling because I think I was only about 4 points ahead. So actually scaling helped me this time.
Wow.
Ruined me a couple of times. Yes. Yeah. Ruined me a couple of times. But anyway, Damon, let's jump into the next segment and see what's transpired across the round the week that was. In the week that was, we keep you up to date on all of the key talking points of the round. And, well, there was carnage, absolute carnage. Yep. And we saw at the end of last round got even worse during the week with popular picks in Grundy, Cherry, Jack Hayes, Paddy McCartan, Hewitt. There's probably some more that I've missed out on, all missing due to injury. I mean, Josh Ward was rested. What a week to be rested when we need players that are actually playing. But anyway, it's rough.
Yeah, very rough. Yeah, and despite the injuries and many teams having their depth stretched, there was some massive scores this round. So I guess, like we said from the top, who would have predicted such a high scoring week? It literally came from nowhere.
Yeah, on the back of Gorn, Stewart, Neal, Miller, there were some very big individual efforts, and the big names stepped up when we needed them, let's be honest. Yeah, but let's leave. And the rookies, yes, of course, SDK and McDonald. Who else would have stepped up? Martin, 105. Love that. Love that for us. Dacos, decent enough score, 75. Just going across the teams. Dawn Francis, 58. Yeah, right.
Yeah, there was a few. There was a few.
Yeah.
There, so
There's a few there.
kept us
Few there.
going.
Nice.
Kept our
Very
head above
nice.
water, which is good. Thank you.
Yes. But let's leave round 7 behind. Let's leave it as a distant memory and look forward to what's coming up in round 8 with The Price is Right.
The price is wrong, bitch.
In The Price is Right, we run through the top buy, sell, hold, and wait options for this round of SuperCoach, and we'll chat about the pros and cons and what we'll be doing with our teams this week. And first, cab off the rank in the sell category, or
Megalo, grandsire.
and it is Josh Richelly, mid forward, priced at 273.3k, averaging a 64 with a break even of 78. So it has crept up there. It kept around about that mark from last week. And the exciting Crows youngster hit his peak, I guess, last week. But as we spoke of, many of us had to really keep hold of him and were forced to play him due to the injuries, which wasn't ideal on the scoring output front, and the fact that he did drop that 17.3k. But he's most definitely done his job as a cash cow, so the time is right to cull him with the rookie downgrades on the horizon. And there's a few coming up that we'll speak of shortly that are looking very, very juicy.
Yes, they are. Next cab off the rank, we've got Jason Horne-Francis, midfield eligible, 310.9k, averaging 70.7 with a break even of 58. Like Richelly, many coaches were forced to keep him due to injuries, and in the process, unfortunately, didn't reach his break even and dropped 11.3k with a score of 58. His break even is 58, so he just has to repeat that effort, and he's going to score 0 cash.
Yeah.
But
Woo!
please don't do that.
It'd be raining in nothing.
Yeah.
Make it rain.
But anyway, he is regularly racking up 15 to 20 disposals, but it's his undisciplined play that seems to be ruining his output, conceding an average of 3 free kicks against in the past 3 weeks alone. Not great. But I don't think it's as clear-cut a sell as Richelly is. His break even is pretty achievable at the 58. We saw him score that this week. So I guess the decision is yours. I think it depends on how your team is structured. Is potentially going to be able to get a little bit of cash back. He is, however, at a price that is juicy enough to use as a stepping stone to a genuine premium. And I think if you're upgrading any rookie or premium, that's what you should be doing. That's where you should be focusing your attention.
Absolutely, and one that I am looking to use this week. But the next guy to consider selling is Hugh Dixon as a forward ruck, priced at 246k with an average of 59 and a break-even of 47, slowly creeping up there. And was obviously a late in on the weekend, and thankful to some coaches. I thought it may be a blessing in disguise for me, but thankfully I didn't really have to rely on him because he only managed to score 42 as the backup ruck of all things to how do you pronounce it? Strawdick? Whoever he is, he was a backup ruck for him.
Big S.
Yes, he isn't really the big S. He isn't really a guarantee to keep his spot. And with a rising break even and having appreciated by a whopping, should say, 143.6k, and obviously, like I mentioned before, with quality downgrade rookie options on the horizon, I think now is a good time to cash him in. So, he's made that bulk cash. And unless you desperately need someone on your forward bench as a bit of depth, so I guess there's that upside to him. But I think with that money that he's made, cash him in and make it actually rain.
Yes, getting a lot of cash out of that. It's nice. Exactly what we wanted. But now, Damon, let's move on to the buy options. And first up, we've got bloke from your mob. They're probably the number one trade option for this round, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would definitely, I don't have him, so I'm definitely targeting him just to give it a bit of away. But we've got Paddy Cripps, obviously a midfielder, 526.7k, averaging 121.3 with a break even of 29. And he's arguably the most in-form man in the competition at the moment. And it's career best form at that as well. His injury-affected score of 38 in round 4 was an absolute blessing in disguise for those coaches like myself that missed out on jumping on him after his 64K price rise. And that's just because it's, instantly stopped his price from going up. And it's also stuck around in his 3-round rolling average over the weekend, meaning he only got to go up a little bit, 5.6K, despite a massive score of 138, which was very lucky for myself. And whilst his current average is 121.3, if you remove that injury affected game, his true average is 138. Massive, absolutely massive. Wow. I know, and I'm going to just touch on this. I know I said that my 1, 2, 3 last week was Cripps, Oliver, Brayshaw, I think it was the third option.
Yep.
And I did obviously go Oliver. It was Damon's argument that got me over the line there. So he definitely swayed me. Now, if you don't have him, now is the last chance before he heads to the moon with a break even of 29. The only, you know what? We're going to strip Matty Rowell of that title.
Sorry, Rowley.
It's now not sorry.
Oh,
Patrick Cripps. Patrick, the only way is up, Cripps.
Yes. Woo! We're jumping on the it's normally, you jump on the train.
The helicopter.
Oh, you've done it. The helicopter. Literally the only way is up. The only way is up in the helicopter. Let's get those rotors spinning. Top speed. We're out of here. We're going to the Alps.
Where do you go to helicopter?
The moon. Just make sure you hold your breath.
Do we need a fact check on that?
The air is thin up there on the moon. You got to watch out. Anyway, let's move on. We're descending into lunacy or whatever it is, something. I'll see you on the moon, Liam, because I'll be getting him as well, I think. Let's move on to another candidate in Luke Parker. Selectable as a mid-forward, priced at 518.8k, with an average of 104 and a break-even of 51, and with a big score of 150 on the weekend, a 3-round average of 124.3, and getting forward eligibility, Luke Parker has rocketed into SuperCoach relevance. Since Parker's score of just 39 in round 4 against North, he has managed scores then on of 123, 100 and 150, and looking at his CBA percentage, they have been a little bit all over the place this year, ranging from a low of 38 in round 4 and a season high of 82 in round 3. But in the last 2 weeks, they've been steady with 75 and 73%. So assuming he holds this role, we should see him with some great scoring and cementing a spot as the top 6 forward. So yeah, I think there was a bit of uncertainty there with CBAs for me anyway, when I was looking at projecting forward and thinking, maybe I should get him into the forward line, and he was scoring like crap. But I mean, there's a huge correlation there as to why. So it's good that he's actually getting midfield minutes again. And I think Josh Kennedy is actually struggling for CBAs at the moment. So yeah, they're kind of balancing both of those two guys out. But he's reclaimed his spot, Lukey Parker, and he is a big, big chance to finish as a top 6 forward. Absolutely.
Yes, I think he is. But just having a quick look at the CBAs, it is sort of, I guess, important to note that the week he had that 82 was in round 3. The next week he had 38. So 38%. So it kind of, this is how they read. So round 1, 50, round 2, 45, round 3, 82, round 4, 38%, round 5, 52%, round 6, 75, round 7, 73. So it's kind of quite jumbled. It looks as though if he's holding his spot there now, which is nice. Looking at, like Josh Kennedy's for the round 4 had 10%, round 6, 25, and round 7, 48. So just, it's an interesting one to consider. I think I like him. I can't see who else. It's hard with the forwards. It's always hard because you don't know who's actually going to be a top 6 forward, and there's not a plethora of options, especially with English out. But I think Luke Parker could be a really good option. If you already have Cripps, he's probably one of the ones that I'd be considering for this round.
Yeah, it almost looks as though, just looking at the past couple of weeks, their CBAs have almost settled a little bit. Apart from Rowbottom, he was the main bloke who didn't really get any CBAs on the weekend, where previous weeks he's had 61 and 65%. But it looks as though they're like Ollie Florent has dropped off completely. So there's been, like you said, there's been a massive, candidates for the Swans that they've been running through the engine room there. So it has mixed things up a fair bit. But yeah, good to see that that Lukey Parker has been steady over the past 2 to 3 weeks. So he's at a great price, and with that low break even, it's probably a good time to jump on him if you are after a decent forward line option.
Definitely. And now moving on to another option in the midfield, it's Took Miller. Priced at 592.1k, averaging 117.7 with a break even of 85. And if you don't have Took Miller, now is the time to pounce. His break even at 85 should mean he'll end up, close to that. If not at above 600, very close to that 600k mark by the end of next round. I think now is the time to jump on him, and he looks to be back at his best with a score of 160. He did start slow, which is a concern, but he did power back with a huge score. Now, according to SuperCoach Gold, with a score of 100, which is his projection, he'll be just under the 600k mark. And I think if you are tossing up between him and, say, a Cripps, 100% be leading towards Cripps due to that impending price rise. But if you don't have Took Miller, you have Cripps. Took Miller's another very, very good option this round. I think he'll probably be at that lower price point. This is probably one of the lowest price points you'll be able to get him at for a while. Yeah,
he sent a bit of a scare through, my SuperCoach camp because he started so slow. And I saw on Fan Footy in the chat log there, everyone was like, oh, he's gone to shit. Like, I don't have him. And then that quickly changed because he put on the afterburners, and to score as well as he did, come the final siren, amazing. So it shows, as we do call him the running man, and he does have endurance for days. So that's the beauty of Tuk, that if he has a bit of a shit one to start with, he can work himself into the game, and that's what he did. But moving on to the last guy that we have listed here, and he was a revelation on the weekend for the Tigers, and it is Jaden Short. As a defender, priced at 532.8k, averaging 112.1 with a break-even of 46. And we saw the number 2 ranked SuperCoach defender in a new role. He was a revelation because of the fact that he attended CBAs and played almost exclusively through the middle. And it was an inspired move at managing a score of 152. So if you're one of the 65% of teams without the Tiger defender, I think you just have to get him in. With a projected score of 120, he's due to go up 32.9k this week alone. So I guess he's not a juicy price, but he's a very, very good, value for dollar candidate anyway, because what he's outputting at that price is very, very good. So if you can and you don't have him, get him in.
You're getting at a very, very slight discount from his starting price, only down 2.4k.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the case that his break even is 46, which is very, very, very achievable. So he's not going to get cheaper in the short run. You wouldn't expect. The one thing to consider is obviously was playing against West Coast, who is a depleted side in that midfield role. So, I mean, I don't know if you can expect a 152 every week. But he should, if he maintains that role in the middle, it gives him a very decent opportunity to score highly as well, especially as a defender.
Yeah, just looking ahead to Collingwood. So they're ranked the third best. I'm talking here just in terms of fantasy points, but there is a correlation between fantasy and SuperCoach to some extent. And they are, Collingwood, the third best team to score against as a midfielder, or conversely, third worst. Yeah, if you get my drift. So they concede the third most points to midfielders, especially inside midfielders. He's probably more of an outside player, but on the whole, opposition midfielders against the Pies perform quite well. So I don't know. It depends if he's going to continue playing in the midfield this coming week, or whether or not he switches back into defence. Who knows? I'm too sure. Probably depends on the ins and outs. But I know the Tigers were stacked into defence, and that's probably part of the reason. And the fact, like you mentioned as well, they were facing, soft opposition in West Coast. They figured they'd probably, give it a bit of a run, bit of a trial.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty interesting.
Now, Damon, do you want to move on to the players that are on the bubble this week?
Yes. So I see you throwing it to me Lee, because it's hard to pronounce this guy's name. It is Luke Strawdick or Strawdick. But unfortunately, news has come through as of 2 hours ago, which we missed as we, I guess, started recording the podcast. And it is that he will miss this weekend due to health and safety protocols. So he's a non-factor. Even if he was, Liam and I had written a few notes here to say look elsewhere, because he got soundly beaten on the weekend against the Tigers, conceding 45 hitouts to 10, even though he was the number one ruck with support from Dixon. So look elsewhere. And we do have a few more juicy options to run through. So who else do we have, Liam?
We've got Robbie Mcrae, midfield eligible, 102.4k, another bargain basement price, averaging 50 with a break even of -41. And after starring in the Dogs VFL team, the mature ager got his opportunity at senior level and looks to have settled in very nicely. After posting a paltry 37, he backed it up with a more palatable 63, playing more in his natural role along the wing with stints drifting forward, which did see him finish with 21 disposals and 2 goals. The fitting part for Mcrae is there is a vacancy on the wing left by Lockie Hunter, something which Bevo has tried to fix by rotating the likes of Mcrae, Dunkley and Smith, and, just their plethora of midfielders.
Everyone else.
Through there. Yeah, just any midfield player that that the Bulldogs have, which is all of their players. But anyway, without having that much success with those players, obviously, in that mid-wing rotation. So at least bodes well for his longish term future in the team, I guess, depending obviously on, I'd say medium term, I want to say, at the very least, provided he maintains his form and the Dogs continue their 1 week of winning ways against my mob. I quite like him. I think obviously being that bargain basement price, he does give you the maximum amount of cash that you can get by trading him in from downgrading him. And obviously at a lower score, you don't need to score as highly to increase in price, as we've seen with Dixon, who just surprisingly has reached that 140k mark. In price rise. But anyway, I don't mind him.
He's a good option. Good option. I think he'd be probably the most popular trade in, apart from Greg Clark, of course. But Greggy Clark only played the one game. But for those people who are after someone on the bubble, and that is Robbie Mcrae, he will be the most popular trade-in. But another option, if you're looking for someone up forward especially, is Paul Curtis from the Roos, priced at 117.3k, averaging 58 with a break-even of -48. And I guess with consecutive scores of 58, both in 60 and 50-point losses, that's pretty promising enough, I guess, and shows his scoring output isn't really dictated solely by the performance of North Melbourne. So
especially as a forward.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's where my main concern would be. Yeah,
he's sort of a medium, pressure forward. But yeah, I think given North are focused on developing their youth, very much youth driven, he should maintain his spot in the side. If he does maintain this sort of level of output and continues hitting the scoreboard, having kicked a goal in each game. But, outside of that, I think it's his pressure play, being able to play. I think in his junior days as well, I read that he was playing through the middle in stints as well. So he does have that capacity. Don't know if he has the endurance for it just yet, but there is that extra string to his bow potentially somewhere along the line. So he presents himself as a really strong candidate, I think, for those of you out there who are looking for an out-and-out forward. So definitely have a look at him.
Another option in the forward line, who I think is probably not going to be high on many people's radars, is Oliver Dempsey from the Cats. Obviously, as a forward, 102.4k, averaging just the 38.5 with a break-even of -18. The young Cat did find it rather tough in his second outing, scoring only the 12 SuperCoach points after a pretty promising score of 65 in his first game. And if that wasn't bad enough, he's got Chris Scott as a coach, and that makes matters worse. But even worse than that, he had the second lowest time on ground with the 59%. I mean, he's a small forward that's never going to be good as a SuperCoach really scoring option on the most part. So we'd be surprised if he's able to hold his spot, especially off the back of a surprise loss to Freo on their home deck in Geelong. I would most certainly be looking elsewhere.
Yes, absolutely, 100% there. But we figured will mention him because he is one of the rookies in that group who is on the bubble. So those are the reasons why you shouldn't go for him. They normally would say those are the reasons why you should consider someone. But in this case, look elsewhere, 100% there. But there are a group of rookies to keep your eye on. We're going to put them in the keep your eye on category or the going early tactic, conversely, because on the bubble next week, we have Greg Clark, the mature age revelation for the Eagles, Jack Carroll for Carlton, Maurice Richelly Jr., also, all of whom were standouts in their first game, scoring 104, 95, and 92 respectively. So I guess one tactic you could employ in order to try and grab all these players is grab one of the players we mentioned throughout there who are on the bubble this week, and then going early on either Clark, Carroll, or Richelly Jr. in the anticipation you'll eventually grab one next week. So it means that you grab two this week, one the next week. So it just means that you don't have to use a boost for next week. But I mean, like what we're doing at the moment, Liam, is we're going to be bringing in two rookies this week and using the third trade or the boost to upgrade our team. So there is that option as well. So I guess, it comes down to that whether or not you want to use a boost. Otherwise, you're going to have to settle for potentially getting two downgrade rookies this week and then one next week. I mean, Greg Clark and Carroll, first and foremost, I think should, for anyway, like speaking in terms of guys that should keep their spot in the team, Greg Clark, number one. For me, Jack Carroll, he's been on the cusp as a Carlton man. I know firsthand he's been on the cusp of making his debut even late last year, but he was struck down by injuries. So now that he performed that well first up, I think they're going to give him a fair crack at it. For the fact that guys like Cottrell have been getting games before him, I think says that there isn't much real depth there in terms of quality. So he should get an extended run. And then Maurice Richelly Jr., I'm still weary about Richmond and, his longevity in the team. But by the same token, they've been playing Gipkus as well. So, I mean, and Dow.
My concern with Richelly is probably more his score being bolstered by, I think he kicked multiple goals off memory. And whether he's sort of playing that role that may not be super conducive to scoring week to week. It might be sort of that Richelly kind of role where he scores well if he's scoring goals, if he's kicking goals. So I think I'm with you. If I were to rank them in order of who I would go early on, Greg Clark would be number one. Yep. I'd want to see another week from Jack Carroll. More so, just I'd hope that Hewitt's back, and therefore I can see him within that sort of midfield mix. Yep. And then I definitely want to see another week of Maurice Richelly, especially not in a first game against West Coast, playing in the forward line when they kicked 25 goals or something, and there was zero pressure on any forward. So I think that's sort of how I'd rank them. But I agree with you. I'll probably be going early on someone like a Greg Clark this week using the 3 trades, and then being able to only use the 2 next week. But I mean, equally, you could argue that you could do it the opposite way anyway. Use 2 this week and 3 next week. Yeah. It's sort of either or.
Yeah, but I think, you're totally right. Greg Clark, and it's reflective as well in terms of the players most traded in at the moment. Greg Clark is far and away the most traded in player at 21.8%, which is just ticked over 22,000 coaches are trading him in a week early. And I think it is warranted. I mean, it does help, as we've seen so far anyway, with mature age players. Nick Martin, Jack Hayes, the guys of that caliber who have really just come in and just, hit the ground running. So And he's shown that on the weekend. So I think it's pretty much a safe play if you want to get him in early. If you're lacking, like we saw on the weekend, we had to play the likes of McDonald, Richelly, all those guys, and you don't really want to be stuck having to play them again. And if you're going to play a rookie, play a quality rookie. And I think Greg Clark presents himself as that. So, yeah. I mean, 100%.
I don't think he'll be scoring hundreds week in, week out, but I think you'd probably see him getting those 70s to 80s, hopefully. On the most part, I hope. Hopefully, like a Nick Martin, getting those odd hundreds with decent scores in between.
Absolutely. Well, with that, let's move on, Liam, because we hear the horn in the distance, and they're looking for a captain. The ship needs a captain.
Who's are you going to be the captain, Damon?
Me?
No, because I'm the captain now.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Oh, very good. Very good. I reckon that's your best yet. That
one felt good. I liked that one.
That was good. See, it took me by surprise there. I love that creativity there on the fly. I was like, where are you going with this? Do I jump in or do you do it? No, you absolutely nailed it. Very good.
Thank you. I'm the captain of this Halley Crypta. Anyway,
don't run us into the ground.
I am not qualified as a pilot, so
keep it altitude.
Anyway, we've scrounged through the data in I'm the Captain Now to find you the best options for your VC and C this week, and we've got 7 options. 7 options for you. Gone a bit crazy this week. And a quick look back at the weekend, and we both took advantage of the tasty matchup between Gorn and Max Lynch, which we highlighted as a standard option for your VC, and we hope you did too. And as honourable mentions, I went with Josh Dunkley, who was a very nice option with 139. And Damon, you highlighted another tasty ruck matchup to exploit in the form of Jared Witts, who did an absolute number on the non-existent ruck setup, missing Grundy, scoring 136. But onto this week's potential options in order of when they play. Damon, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, well, we have that man who found himself in the bad category, and it is Jack Mcrae. Surely he can turn it around. Surely. It's not going to be hard. I mean, he's averaged as well as he have across his journey.
I'm fairly certain last week we said that you can just bank like a 120 off him. And,
we did.
Well, you can't.
Yeah, you can't. Well, yeah. I mean, what is it? The law of averages, say that, he's going to come a cropper eventually.
Yeah,
so,
eventually.
And that was it. So it's not going to happen for another 2 years, going by recent trends.
So now is the time to jump on him.
Yeah, that's it. The only way is up again.
Yes.
So Jack Mcrae plays Port Adelaide on Friday at 7:30 p.m. and he's averaged 120.75 over his last 4 against the Power with scores of 115, 113, 113 and 142. So Liam, he should turn that form around, turn that frown upside down, and he is a VC candidate territory potentially. But
yes. Who
else do we have?
We've got Tuk Miller against Sydney on Saturday at 1:45. He averages 114.5 over his last 4 against the Swans, which includes scores in his last 2 of 146 and 148, and then before that, 102 and 62. I think we can discount those 2 playing more. Not in the role that he's been playing in as of late. So a decent average against the Swans.
Yeah, very much so. And Milaki coming off that nice little score on the weekend. But speaking of coming off nice scores on the weekend, this man, Lockheed Neal, absolutely smashed it on the weekend. And to make matters all more better, this weekend he faces the hapless West Coast Eagles on Saturday at 7:25. And he's averaging, just to make things even better, a 144.25, I'm excited, Liam, over his last 4 against the Eagles, with scores of a 133, 166, a 127, and a 151. Absolutely killing it.
All of them captaincy-worthy scores too. If you had the VC on him, you're holding that. You're taking that score.
Yep, 100%.
So
100%.
That's absolutely lovely. And now on to the Sunday game at 1:10 against St Kilda. We've got a Maxi Gorn, who has a very decent average against the Saints with scores of 137, 135, 126, and 133 for an average in his last four of 132.75. Another very decent option.
Yes.
For maybe for your C.
C. Yeah.
Being on a Sunday.
Yes. But also on a Sunday, in the same game, mind you, Clary Oliver. He's averaging 125.25 over his last four against the Saints with scores of 133, 134, 108 and 126. So, Jesus, we are gifted with VC and C
Very
options,
good options this
weekend.
Yeah.
So looking good. Does it get better, Liam? Does it get better?
Jack Steele averages 124.5 over his last four games against the Demons. The scores of 123, 151, 103 and 121. Another good option. Another good option.
Very much so, especially because he is in form, scored 122 on the weekend as well.
He's back.
He is well and truly back. But a man who has just been there because he hasn't shifted, so he doesn't have to be back. And he is the constant in our SuperCoach fortunes, and it is Paddy Cripps against Adelaide. And I guess, sorry to just bring things down a notch, but we haven't listed him last because he's the shittest average against the Crows in comparison to all these guys we just mentioned against the upcoming opponents. But he's only averaged 102.25 against the Crows over his last four against them with scores of 65, 98, 152 and a 94. But you could virtually throw that out the window because, like we've mentioned with Paddy Cripps, he is in career best form. And he's averaging 138 when you discount that game where he injured his hammy against Gold Coast. So, Liam, honourable mentions. Anyone that sticks out for this weekend?
I don't know if he sticks out. It's just a bit of a, what's the right word? Just make a random play, I guess. Just a player that I thought maybe
strategic.
If you I don't know, people like pods. I know some people that like pods.
Oh, yes,
absolutely. This is very much a pod option. James Sicily. He should get absolutely plenty of opportunity to intercept mark against the Dons, who just go for with absolutely no system. It probably plays a bit late on that Saturday night to be a VC. No, maybe not. You've still got some decent options the next day. It's a bit of a sneaky option, but he might present as a bit of a decent pod captain. I don't know. I'm not necessarily for it. I think there's too much value in the obvious choices this week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw up someone just a little bit left field.
Yeah,
a little bit left field, very left field.
Yeah, mine isn't as left field, but I've sort of gone along the same route as you, Liam, because I have listed Jaden Short, but probably more so off the back of what we saw on the weekend in this new role, playing through the middle. Just makes you wonder, can he replicate it again against the Pies? Have the Tigers turned around their form? That's probably the other question you need to ask yourself. And if they have, that in combination with, if he plays in the midfield again, we could see a high score yet again because we know that he loves to rack up the pill at will. Poet didn't know it. And yeah, he's so damaging with his disposal as well. So just easy SuperCoach points right then and there. So he's very much a left field option for me, but I don't think I'll be, just like you said, there's so many quality options that you can't really afford to snub your nose at this week. So lock in one of those guys. In terms of guys to lock in, who are you looking at, Liam?
Yes, I am looking at Neal against the Eagles. And probably I want to say Horne will be my captain if Neal doesn't make that 125 sort of benchmark, I guess. Yeah,
I'm very much the same. Eagles have conceded the most points to opposition midfielders. So
that's a good stat.
Sign me up. Just that in combination with Neal's almost Brownlow winning form, I think, at the moment. He's well and truly up there. If he somehow fails to fire Horne or Oliver, but I think I'll get off the fence and I'll say Gorney as well. I'll back him in with the captain's armband if needed. But now though, Liam, it's time to delve into our favourite segment where you, the good folk of the SuperCoach Edge community, yell things at us. Specifically the question of, I gots to know.
Hey, I got to know.
That was quality. That was another good one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I've been
I like
practicing.
that.
I've been
You
practicing
didn't go
for...
too crazy.
No, I was
It
going to
felt
go high.
controlled.
Yes.
It felt controlled. Like, you know, when you're like, you go too high and then it's like, it's not controlled. That was like,
Yep.
you just reined it in a little bit. It was nice.
I
Very
did.
nice.
You could feel me pulling back on it, didn't you? It's,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I got to know where we got. I got a good question here, Liam. It's about a pod option, if you will.
Oh, love pods.
Yes.
Love a good pod.
It comes from Taylor McKenzie at Taylor M. Jeez, can you make an easier bloody handle, Taylor? Come on, mate. Oh, I'm going to fall asleep halfway through reading this out. At Taylor M 587312221. Like, are those GPS coordinates or like, are you a bot? Either or. Sorry, Taylor, before you we answer your question, can you actually just identify which of these photos contain a boat and then see if you get through the capture security settings?
Oh.
But anyway,
let's stop
enough
calling
gags.
our followers
Bots. So Taylor, if he's a real person, asks, is Vlosten the real deal and a potential upgrade option? That very much sounds like a bot question. But Liam, I'll throw the floor open to you for this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I like it. I like this question. From his 3 games in 2022, Vlosten is averaging 121 on the dot with scores of 155, 98, and 110. And as we delve into his stats a bit more, his scoring looks to come on the back of his marking and his high number of kicks to handball as that ratio, always good. And with Short out of the back line in round 7, he got the lion's share of the kick-ins, taking 4 of the 8. But even before that, he's been taking either the most or the second most number of kick-ins alongside Short, being a preferred option for the Tigers. And that helps him maintain a pretty high floor because if you know he's getting those kick-ins, you know, he gets to play on, get the second possession technically, then kick it 50 metres up the ground.
Cheapies.
Absolute, seagull material. With a projected score of 115 and a break even of 27, he's all but guaranteed to go up in price. And according to SuperCoach Gold, he's due to make 39.3K, hitting around that 540K mark. I think he's a legitimate option. He is in 5% of teams at the start of this round. I haven't seen, he's not in the top trades for the round.
No.
So you might be onto a little sneaky one there, which we are just plastering to everyone in the listens to the podcast. But sorry about that. He is in those 5% of teams though. So he's sort of in that, I'd say that's pod material, and has shown he's capable of scoring while sharing the kicking responsibilities with Short. So even if Short does come back from that midfield role, he's still, he scored those 155 and 98 with Short in the back line. He's still, I'd say, a little bit speculative because he's not got that. He hasn't been a top 6 defender. He wasn't a top 6 defender last year off memory. Probably no. He was injured, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
So that probably affects it. But sometimes, you know what? You've just got to risk it to get the biscuit. I don't mind it. I actually rate that trade. I think if you can jump on him now and he maintains that scoring, it's a good option.
Yeah, he showed a few signs last year as well, just having a look back at sort of the latter end. So he missed a few games with injury towards the latter part of the season, but then he showed signs. He scored 116, 111, 123, 118 with a couple of 70s, scores in between. But yeah, it looks as though he does have the potential to, carry it on because historically he does have that in his arsenal. So yeah, I think he's very much, if you do like going for someone as a bit of a pod, he is right up there as some of the best candidates. But I think, like I've always said, I very much like going with someone who you can rely on from week to week. And I think he probably comes across as the sort of guy to, if Richmond struggle in defence, he's going to struggle massively. Whereas, if it's a guy like Doherty, who's the main distributor week on week for Carlton and is a quality ball user, I'd prefer to spend up a little bit more to get, a genuine out and out primo as opposed to someone who's around about that mark or cheaper, but is a pod because, at 5% ownership, obviously speaks for itself. If he has a downer, it's going to hurt you and hurt you bad because, you're in the minority in terms of owners. So, I like to hedge bets, and I think in defense, there are better options at the moment. I'd prefer to spend an extra, 50 odd K to bring in Sicily, or an extra 29K to bring in Jaden Short, his counterpart at the Tigers. So, there are other options that I think appeal a little bit more, but by the same token, he is showing at the moment in terms of his form that he could carry it on. So, bit of a risk, but up to you as to whether or not you want to take it.
Yeah, I think if you're one that is just likes to take the risks, I don't mind it. For me, I'm probably not going down that route. I think, especially this round, if you've got Cripps, you've got all the main trade-in targets for this round, then maybe you could take a risk. But I think there's better options to be trading in this round, even in defense, like a Short, as you mentioned, Damon.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Taylor. You can power down now and recharge. We'll catch you next week potentially. But let's move on to segment 7, and it is, Liam, our group rankings and the SuperCoach Edge Cash League. So let's have a quick look, first of all, how the group rankings are shaping up. And the highest scorer for the round was James. Very good. So I'm laughing because I just read ahead about the team name, and it is one of my favourites.
That's a great name.
It's probably up there with what's the dyslexic one?
Dyslexia Untied.
Yeah, Untied. That's the one. Very good. I think this probably almost eclipsed that, and it is Lever wanting more. Lever wanting more. Very good. Very, very good. Scored 2,662. Wow, well done. With a round rank of 372. And the overall highest scorer, Liam, it is a new leader. We mozzed them.
Yes. Called
Jeeves, yeah, whatever it was. New leader.
He's in second. He's in second, I must say.
Yes. He only narrowly got beaten by 2 points by Taylor with his team Cream Pies. Yes, sorry. Very good. So we got Lever wanting more and Cream Pies. Imagine those two together. Lever wanting more Cream Pies. Very good. Very good. On. Yep, let's move on. Don't ask any questions. For the kids out there, do not ask questions of your parents. Just leave it at that. You'll find out when you grow up. So total score is 16,519 with an overall rank of 86. And if you would like to enter the SuperCoach Edge group, of which you can join at any time, and you can see quality teams with these quality names, the code is 142059. But Liam, can you run us through the league rankings for the SuperCoach Edge?
After that one. Yes. And now let's just do a quick update on that SuperCoach Edge Crown League, because I'm not going to make it through. The winners from this round were Peter with his team Tankman, Jacqueline with her team Mid-Price Madness, Bruce with his team Shuian, Lyle from Lyle Styles, and my team with Church of Parish.
Very nice, and probably good timing, because that brings us to the end of the show before we descend into any more X-rated smut type puns. Liam, before we sign off officially for the round, where can our listeners and viewers find us across our social channels?
On YouTube, if you search SuperCoach Edge, you'll find us there. And don't forget to like and subscribe. On Twitter, you'll find us at SuperCoach_Edge, Damon at DamoJ88, myself at Liam Evans _95. And on Facebook, just search SuperCoach Edge, and that's where we'll be.
Well, yes, that brings us to the very end of this week's podcast. And yes, I guess hopefully, let's cross our fingers that there's no more chaos, Liam, and there's more opportunity.
Yes, and as we know from The Simpsons, the Chinese word for crisis and opportunity is the same. And that is
Crisitunity.
Very good. And with that, let's carry that banner forth into the
let's
weekend.
have a Crisitunity this week.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next week.